This is the Live to Inspire podcast with me, your host, Mo Eunice. Welcome to the Live to Inspire podcast with me, your host, Mo Eunice. Today I'm with James Phelps, who is common in the Harry Potter franchise, who played Fred Weasley, one of the twins, with his brother. I met James back at, was it Pride of Britain we spoke, or Pride of Birmingham?
I met you first at Pride of Birmingham, and then I saw you again, steal the room again at the Pride of Britain.
Yeah, that was right. Yeah, but yeah, before we get into, obviously, you know, you've achieved a lot from such a young age, and I just want to kind of know about, you know, how it was growing up for you and how life's been, especially being in, you know, a film as big as Harry Potter. You know, the whole world knows about Harry Potter. I personally haven't seen the films myself because of how long they are. Like, I can't, with any film, I can't sit down and watch a film that's more than 2 hours long. Right. But obviously, even if you don't watch films or whatever, I think everyone still kind of knows the name Harry Potter and everything. So yeah, it's great to have you on. Thanks for coming on. Before we get into everything, I've got to ask a question that I ask all my guests at the beginning of each episode. And that is, what is the biggest challenge you have in life right now?
Start with a good one. Biggest challenge I've got right now is, John, I'm slightly not worried, but apprehensive about when I have to start traveling again. Because before, I was away quite often, and over the last 18 months, like everybody, we've got used to being home a lot, and I really enjoy it. Like, I really do enjoy just being at home with my wife, my dog. Like, I get to go bike riding, paddleboarding, golf, do you know what I mean? And then, so in 2017, I want to say I was on well over 60 airplanes in the year.
Wow.
So the weird thing, when lockdown happened, I had to find a place for my suitcase because it was always just out.
Oh, wow.
So, so I'm a bit apprehensive of getting back into that frame of mind when I'm away. But
yeah, I mean, traveling, is it work related, or is it just traveling in general, like just a hobby?
No, it's normally work related, but if I'm got to be somewhere for, say, I'm working for 3 days doing a job, I'll then stay for an extra week so I can see if I've never been there before, because I always want to be one of those people that if I've been somewhere, I want to have experienced it. I don't want to just gone in, seen the hotel, get back and go. So I kind of bring it on myself, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame you, to be honest, because obviously, if you're traveling a lot and you know, you're somewhere. Obviously, if you're there because of work, you obviously don't get the time to explore. So, I mean, you do kind of sometimes want that extra time to explore the place a bit more wherever you're at, don't you? So, I agree with that. I
always try and we always try and go where the locals go as well. So go off the beaten track whenever we're traveling, and that is something which I cannot recommend enough to anybody. If you're going, like, don't just go on TripAdvisor and say, "Oh, that's number one, we'll go there. That's number one, we'll go there." Like, speak to locals wherever you are, and then they'll always. Everyone's very keen to show, like, point you a good place in their own city, aren't they? Like, if anyone came to Birmingham, you know where the good spots to go to and go and check out, which probably they wouldn't go to normally.
Yeah, I mean, well, now you've told me you've been so many places. I've got to ask, what's your favorite location? Where's the best place you've been?
Oh. So I've been spoiled. So I've been quite a lot of places. The first thing that always comes to mind is Valencia in Spain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because it took me completely by surprise. I've been, like I say, many places, but it's as a city, it's so awesome because there's a park going right the way through the middle, and it's about 5 miles long, and the whole town just go there for barbecues and just to hang out on the weekend. And the football team at the Messiah, it's like a proper football stadium as well, proper Spanish football stadium. If you're ever going to see a La Liga game, go there. And I just found the locals really welcoming and just really happy for you to be in their town. And everybody I know who's been there said the exact same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I kind of read that don't you support Valencia as well?
Kind of, yeah. Well, they're like my Spanish team, I guess. And
Yeah, because it's better than the other team you support, isn't it? So.
Yeah, well, they're doing better, that's for sure. So what happened was originally we were working in Valencia, and then they found out that Oliver and I were in town and wondered if we wanted to go to a game. So we did, but at half time they asked us to go on the pitch and take a penalty.
Oh wow!
In front of their equivalent of the Holt End.
Oh wow!
In Spain, people don't leave the stands at half time so much; they kind of just
hang around and
talk. So you got I got this full stand, and I'm taking a penalty against this bat, which is their mascot. I luckily managed to score one, and then I kind of gave it like the fist bump to the crowd, and they just went ballistic. It was really good fun.
Yeah, I mean, you got a little taste of how it is to be a footballer, then I guess.
Definitely, it scared the hell out of me. I don't know how those guys do it, to be honest with you, but it's all
yeah.
Because
I mean, I had a similar situation with myself when I was a mascot with Villa. I think it was back in 2010. And we were. This was before the game. We were just having a little kick around. All the mascots were on the side of the pitch, and then they said, go and take a shot at goal. And I mean, I was running, and all the fans were like, "Oh," like that. And then, as soon as I got close to the goal and I took the shot and scored, everyone just jumped up and cheered. Yeah. And it was like one of the best moments ever. I never forgot that moment. And everyone's like, "Come on, lad," and they're just cheering out. I felt like a real boss because I was walking away. And I mean, I think 3 of the other lads missed. So I was like one of the only ones that scored. So everyone was just looking at me.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Excellent.
Yeah, but I mean the I don't, you can correct me now actually, but the fans in, say, La Liga and stuff, are they different to the fans in England? Because they always sound a bit different on TV.
You mean kind of, yeah. So when we were doing Oliver and I had a little thing with they were touring the Harry Potter props and costumes around the world for a couple of years. So Oliver and I, we got on pretty well with everybody. So they asked us to go and open it on quite a few occasions. But we had it written into the contract, if there's ever a sporting event, we get to go. And so we got to see many different places, like in Germany or in Germany when we were in Cologne, and the day before the game, the fans are allowed in the stadium to put all their and everyone, when they come out and they hold up a piece of paper and it spells something in the crowd or something, like the fans will do that themselves.
Yeah.
And then in Spain, I know the first thing that I realized is that when there's a goal, the whole crowd just shout goal.
Oh, okay.
So it's not like everyone just like screams nutter like nutters in England. They all chant goal, which is quite a fun thing.
Yeah, I mean, now you've said that, it kind of sounds like it does sound like it when you watch, say, when you hear, say, a team like Barcelona or whatever score a goal. You can't. The roar's completely different to what you hear in the Premier League. I've always realised that, and I think anyone else who watches football would have realised that as well. So it makes sense, actually. That does.
Yeah, no, it's good. And if you're ever away and there's a local team playing, even if it's like a lower league thing, it's fun to go and see, no matter what sport it is, because that's where the heart of the city is, isn't it? In the sport teams normally.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, that's actually surprised me, that I didn't expect you to say Valencia in Spain as one of your favourite locations. That's actually really surprised me because, like you've said, you've been all over the world, haven't you? So well, yeah.
I guess I'm very lucky, and you could say Hawaii or New Zealand or China or, do you know what I mean?
That's what I was expecting. I was expecting something like.
I think it's just, as I just remember when I left that city, I was literally planning my next trip back there, because they've got markets in there and like a huge market hall, and you go in there and you literally just sit down and just try all different foods. It's just a wicked time, and it's pretty cheap as far as major cities go in Europe. So it's a great little weekend away.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'll have to go one day in the future, hopefully, and check it out. But yeah, let's go back now to when you was growing up, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I read you actually missed school to go to an audition. And
Yep.
obviously after 6 auditions, you got the part in Harry Potter with your brother. So I mean, just tell me about that and what happened and how it happened.
Yeah, so we were 14 when we did our first audition. We just wrote down all the courses we wanted to do for GCSEs, and the drama teacher at the school said, "Don't do drama because you don't have a career in it."
Oh, so, wow!
Just if anyone's listening, if someone says you can't do something, that doesn't mean it's fact. Like just and how many times do you hear people say that as well?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But we grew up not really thinking that was ever a thing we could do. Like, we grew up in Sutton Coldfield, North Birmingham, and it's never been. I wouldn't say it was ever on the we didn't know anyone that had been in films or anything like that. It was kind of just like, oh, it'd be fun if that happened. And a friend of my mum saw in the newspaper that they were doing auditions for every part in the film. And we'd literally just finished reading, I think, the 3rd book at that point. So we thought, yeah, why not? And it was a day off school, like you said. But it was at the end of the school year, so and the teachers just bring out the board games because they can't be bothered.
Yeah, nothing really going on.
It wasn't like we ditched like the mocks or anything like that, or an exam.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did that, and then over, like I said, 6 auditions over the 6-week holiday. And then when we first started back on our first day, I said to my pals that I used to walk to school with that, we've got a part in Harry Potter, and they didn't believe me.
Yeah.
So why would they?
Yeah.
And then we rocked up a week later with ginger hair. They dyed our hair ginger.
Yeah.
And I just remember my mate Tom said, "Okay, I think you're taking this a bit too far now." Like, he really didn't believe it. And then, and then that was what we were doing for the next 10 years.
Wow, I mean, it must have been surreal being a fan, and then obviously, just especially when a teacher has told you not to take that, take that path in life, and you've just got the role. I mean, did you go back to school and you must have told the teacher, right, that you've got the role?
No, I didn't tell him. I know that it went round school pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, I mean, because myself, I would have been straight at the teacher telling her I've got the role. But that's just me.
But it's amazing. I mean, he wasn't the only one. I can remember there was a maths teacher who was telling me I shouldn't do it because if I did that, I may not go to university. And all I said to him was, "Well, what makes you think I was ever going to go to university?" And I just don't understand anybody, whether it be teacher, whether anybody, telling someone that they can't do something, especially when you're like 14, 15. That's when you should be learning who you are and what things you like to do. And you should always encourage it. Like the Olympics at the moment, how many of those people do you see, they fell into the sport that they're doing now? They didn't necessarily want to be a rower. They were good at running, but they ended up rowing, and now they're gold medalists.
Yeah, it's true, that is. Yeah. So like when at the time of obviously getting the role and playing the parts you did play, did life change, or was life, the more you were in the films and obviously acting and stuff, life must have changed?
Do you mean how people act around us, or just in general?
Just in general, like, I mean, going to school, how your friends were about it, if life changes because obviously you become famous then, and I mean fame can have different effects on people. So
yeah, I think life change in regards to, we were then from school, we were then on a working movie set with and not just we didn't have anything to compare it to, but as far as movie sets go, this is one of the biggest ones in the world.
Yeah.
And in regards to the amount of people, there's like 500 people working on the crew, so who
Yeah.
you'll never see. So that was different, learning all that, and then learning how the film industry works in general. But by and large, all our friends stayed exactly the same, and they never really changed that much around it. I don't know, it was just they. I guess if, especially in Birmingham in general, if anyone gets above themselves, they get knocked down very quickly, don't they? So
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely,
it's not
definitely.
like it's not like it's in anyone's mentality to do that. And Oliver and I are pretty level headed, I like to think. So it's I don't know, we just kind of just carried on, treated it as normal, and we were quite lucky that we were able to bring some of our friends down to the studios to see it being filmed and all that kind of stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
we had good times.
I mean, that 10-year period that you were recording for Harry Potter and filming for Harry Potter, was it all positive, or did you have challenges along the way?
I would say 99% positive.
Yeah.
Um, and the way I think that is that any negative was way outweighed by the positive,
Yeah.
um, because we were so lucky doing what we're doing. And also our characters like slowly grew in attention in it and things like that. It wasn't like Dan, Rupert, and Emma who were just thrust straight into the media spotlight straight away. So
Yeah.
we were quite good, and because we're really close friends with those guys, like we could see from the sidelines or everything that was happening to them. So then when it did start happening to us, granted not in this major scale, we knew what to expect, if that makes sense.
I mean, was it a blessing or a curse? Excuse the pun. Having your brother there for the journey.
I guess looking back, I've got to say a blessing, because it's nice to have shared that with somebody, and especially on the first day, like I knew someone, whereas no one else knew anyone. So it was
Yeah.
quite lucky in that I wasn't going in completely nervous in that regard. Um, I think it was good it was nice that for the whole family as well, because then they could see what was happening. So like, if I'm very bad at remembering things after a day, if someone said, "How was your day?" I'll be like, "Yeah, it's great." And I couldn't tell you much about what happened, whereas Oliver's very good at remembering everything.
Yeah, I mean, you've kind of done everything together, haven't you? I mean, you filmed obviously at such a young age for 10 years in the Harry Potter film, and then you talk about the podcast now. You started in lockdown, right?
Yep. When was that? Yeah, 2020. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, how did that come about? What made you want to start a podcast? Because I mean, it's different from what you was doing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So basically, we Oliver and I were meant to have been doing a film in, I think it was Texas, and then that got pulled because of lockdown. So we had, and then indefinitely, no one knew how long we were going to be doing nothing, especially in the film industry and the
Yeah,
entertainment industry in general. But we had a phone call from, so we're pals with Johanna Konta, the tennis player,
yeah.
and she messaged us saying like, would you mind being on my podcast? And then Oliver replied saying, "Sure, do you want to come on mine, on ours?" I said, "Oh, have you got one?" It's like, "Well, yeah, we do now. Can you be our first guest?" And then we
Yeah.
just started like calling people that we knew to be our guest every week, and it found a nice little community who listened to it, and some of them have got like millions of listens, which have been really fun. And it's been, what I've really enjoyed it is especially interviewing friends of ours who are actors and this, that, and the other, and talking about how they go about acting and their methods, because that's something you never talk about with your friends. You just
Yeah.
crack on with it. So I found that really interesting.
Because you just said now millions of listens, which is amazing. But what kind of advice would you give to someone like me who's struggling to actually get listens because of how much followers he has? Because obviously I don't have millions of followers, and I'm trying to build this podcast and get it as high as possible. So what advice would you have for me?
Um, oh, I don't know. What I've learned is that it comes over time.
Yeah.
Like there's one we did with Bonnie Wright, who played our sister in the film, and that one for some reason, like 6 months later, like within a week, 100,000 people had listened to it for
Oh,
no
God.
reason, like zero, like there was no reason. I don't know why or anything like that, but I don't know whether it just goes around I think word of mouth is a big thing. So as
Yeah.
long as people are speaking about it, that's the main thing.
Yeah. Because I mean, I I've seen a lot of celebrities who, because I had Vicky Patterson on this podcast as well,
Yeah.
and she's also got a podcast of her own,
Right.
and she kind of said the same thing to me, that just kind of carry on, and it will come eventually. You'll get the listens and stuff. But your story, and yeah, everything has been, obviously I wanted to get you on because, like I said, we met back in Pride of Birmingham, and you and your brother were amazing. I think at the time I was a bit more closer with your brother because he supported Villa. I
Definitely.
do
Yeah.
remember that. I do remember that. Yeah. I mean, growing up, but has he always been Villa, and have you always been Blues?
Yeah. Yeah. So I went to my first Blues game when I was about 5,
So how did
and
that happen? Like, wait, did your parents support either team, or how did you become supporting them teams?
yeah, my dad's a Birmingham fan, and but obviously Sutton Coldfield's a Villa, quite a big Villa town. So
Yeah.
I was always the odd one out at school sports days with a blue kit, and everyone else had claret and blue. But
Yeah.
yeah, my dad took me when I was 5, and then obviously that's once you're told that's your team, that's your team. So
I mean, but how did Oliver get into
into the
you know
Villa.
into Villa? Yeah.
My granddad supported Villa,
Oh,
and like I say, all of our pals did as well.
yeah.
So that was more that, and it's pretty easier to support a team that's in the Premiership as opposed to someone who's fighting out league. Like it was, I remember when they were in Division 2 at one point. That was an
Yeah.
interesting couple of
Yeah.
years.
I mean, that, like, back in 2001, like, I was only one, so I don't really remember much. But as I was growing up, I remember Villa and Blues always having that rivalry, and because I remember Blues, obviously they were in the Premier League at one point.
Mhm.
And that was a time where the rivalry was real. Do you and your brother take it serious? Are you hardcore fans? When Villa play Blues, do you watch it together?
Yeah, I've seen it with I've been in a pub full of Villa fans, um, which was interesting. But I think, to be honest, I never get the violent and like rivalry side of it. I don't get that,
Yeah,
because it's fun to take the mickey, but I don't know how you can hate someone just because of the football team they support. Like I like seeing all the Midlands teams doing well. I like seeing the Baggies doing well. I like seeing Villa doing relatively well. Let's not kid ourselves. But I just love Birmingham to be run like Villa were, to be honest, because then they'd be up up that way again. But so in 2002, I went to the playoff final when they beat Norwich to go into the Premier League for the first time, and that was the best atmosphere because I remember as soon as it was like first thing everybody around us in the stadium was saying, we're going up, and then it was, we get to play the Villa in a game which will mean something, and then that was, I think it was like 16 years of not playing against each other was the first game. So although it was a competition the first couple of years, wasn't it? And then I think Villa have won
yeah,
the last however many.
yeah. I mean, look, you mentioned in 2002 you went to the playoff final, and that was nearer the time of when you got the role of obviously being in Harry Potter. So did you get to have a social life whilst having that busy that busy role and that big role? Did you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
social life with your brother as a child, just like every other youngster?
yeah. I'd say so. Actually, that game. So it was on a Sunday. No, it was on a bank holiday Monday. They used to do the playoffs. Like League One, League Two would be on the Friday. League Two would be on the Saturday. Championship on the Sunday, or something like
Yeah.
that. Like, and there would be one after another. But we went to that game, and I was filming the next day, and I lost my voice from screaming.
Oh, well,
And so that, trying to explain that to people, I just had to say I had a bit of hay fever or something, like my throat was a bit sore. But
yeah,
yeah, to answer your question, yeah, we were very, very fortunate in that because it was a kids. The first two essentially were child movies, so they you had to finish filming by 6 p.m. I want to say.
Hmm.
So although we were pretty much living in a hotel, we still had time to then go and hang out with other guys from the cast who were also staying there, who weren't from London. And then we would come home every weekend, and then hang out with your friends. Then the only real thing that suffered would be we weren't allowed to do contact sport, so we
Oh,
weren't able to play. We weren't able to play football, rugby, cricket. We weren't allowed to do that.
okay. In case you got hurt in the face or something, and it
Exactly.
got shown on TV. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, was that just with you guys, or is that with pretty much every other actor?
Pretty much everybody. Yeah. It's
No
very
way.
even to be honest. Even now, if I'm filming, um, whatever it is, that's normally drawn into it that you've got to be very careful. So, but it just depends on the production, what they let you do and what they don't let you do. I normally try and let them still be. I like to go out road cycling, so as long as I can do that, I'm okay. And golf, but you don't really get injured in golf.
Yeah, you don't get. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, you filmed, obviously you filmed for a long time, 10 years, right? So after 10 years, when you kind of stopped filming, did you not come? It must have felt weird, right? After all them years you're filming for Harry Potter, and then all of a sudden you're not.
Uh, yes and no, because we knew it was going to end. Like there's the last book, it's the last film, so we knew that was going to happen. So for a couple of years before that, we always knew that that last premiere was going to be the last time we were all in the same room, and it was weird, but it was a bit like the last day of school. Like it's coming,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
because it finished on such a high, it was the biggest. It was the biggest premiere in London history.
Wow.
So it literally closed down central London because of all the traffic all around it and everything. But
Mhm.
if it went out on a high as well, which I think which really helped the situation of moving on from it.
Yeah. So like, how has life been after that?
It's, it's
You've been traveling, obviously you mentioned, and you've been on what, so many different vacations. But apart from that, how what have you been up to?
what I've been up to. Yeah, so I'm like still done TV stuff, film stuff, theatre. So still acting, but obviously nothing as big as Harry Potter,
Yeah,
which is which I'm happy with. To be, I'm more. I don't begrudge it. Like I know some people who not necessarily Harry Potter, but certain things they don't ever want to talk about the main thing that they've done, and I can
yeah,
never really understand that because that's it's an honor to have been in something like that. So it kind of
yeah,
just it kind of allows us to do other things which we probably wouldn't ever have done if that makes sense.
yeah. I mean, yeah, because obviously your names are out there, and known for playing a part in that massive film. Obviously, it will never leave you. It will never leave you fully, because you'll always have it in the back of your mind because of how it
Yep.
grew you into the person you are today. But I mean, like you said, you've got to move on eventually, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny when you meet either like casting directors or something like that. Some people can't see past that,
Yeah.
and some can. And it's really interesting when if you ever have a little chat with them on why. Like I can remember I walked into one casting and the lady was like, "Oh, I thought you had ginger hair." I was like, "No, it was dyed."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, you're taller than I thought you were." I was like, "Right." I don't know. It's strange how some people work, but I think for the most part, I'm very happy how everything's gone, and it's now luckily the film industry and the entertainment industry is starting back up again slowly but surely. So it's good to see that more productions are on its way.
So what are your plans for, say, the next 5 years? Do you have any plans, or do you just take it day by day?
I don't. I'm pretty chilled. I'm pretty day by day. As you can probably tell, I've got long hair, so I'm very much let's see what happens kind of thing. Like you can't. Obviously certain things that you can go and achieve and you can go and get it, but
Mhm.
just roll with the waves, as it were. Like which I definitely finds helped, and I found definitely during lockdown, especially last year, I learned how to be a lot more calmer. Normally I'm 100 miles an hour trying to do something all the time, but
Yeah.
I found just being able to chill out definitely helped.
Yeah, because I mean, I don't blame you. I mean, it sounds like it sounds to us, it sounds like you've had quite a busy childhood. I mean, playing the part at such a young age in such a big film, and then obviously having to do that, but then having a social life at the same time, mixing it up. I mean, it sounds like your life has been quite busy. So I mean, obviously not having to do that anymore, mate. It's probably stuck with you a bit. Am I right? Has it stuck with you or not? Like
What do you mean? What, being
being
busy?
hard, being wanting to do things. Because
That's just
as a
me. That's just
child,
me in
I was
general.
busy. Or is that just you in general?
It's just me in general. Like I have to do something. Like I know my wife goes crazy. Like if we're on a pool holiday, for example, I'll sit there for 5 minutes, get bored, and have to try and like jump into all the rubber rings or something. Like it's like I literally have to do something all the time. But so during the last or the first lockdown, I got into stargazing. So that's my telescope there, and I would literally like, and it was such a great way just to chill out because you literally just go out into your garden, look up, and once your eyes adjust to everything, it's just it was very, very good for me to just calm down, chill out, and go from there.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, what about your brother? Is he the same? Is it or because obviously when people talk about twins, people always think that twins are the same as in personality and everything, but that's not always the case, is it?
no, I think close friends of ours will say that we are pretty different.
Oh, okay.
Um, although we are, I mean, he is very much go and get them kind of person. He's very go go go, whereas I'm more go 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 while doing silly things, i.e., bungee jumping or something like that. Um,
Yeah,
but but for the most part, he's like the sensible one of the pair of us. So if we're ever in an interview or something like that, he'll do most of the talking. So thank you for
yeah,
having me on my own.
yeah. I mean, yeah, yeah. I'm like, cause obviously I read about both of you, and I think growing up together as brothers and doing what you've done, it it's really interesting because obviously when you're say not a normal child, but when you're growing up in a family and you've got your brothers, you're usually arguing every 10 minutes, aren't you? Or every half an hour about who's winning on this game or that game or something like that, or not arguing but having a debate somehow. So I mean, you guys growing up together and spending all that time together, surely there must have been them debates and stuff happening.
Oh yeah, I love the word debate. That's a great way of putting it. Yes.
Yeah, that's a great because I mean it's not arguing, is it? It's just a bit of banter, a bit of debate, you know what I mean? So
Yeah. Well, when obviously with brothers, there's no real give, is there?
yeah,
So especially when you've got a brother who can't really pull out, I'm the older, or I'm the younger. Oliver's only
yeah,
older than me by 13 minutes, so it doesn't really fly. But
yeah,
um, for the most part, we get on pretty well. I would say.
yeah,
And then just going back to what you were saying before, when like social life and all that kind of stuff, I think what definitely helps is having good friends around you, and
yeah, definitely.
you know who your good mates are and who to
Yeah,
trust and who's. Do you know what I mean? Like it's. I've seen some people have just not the right people around them,
yeah,
and if they're
yeah.
pals of mine, 9 times out of 10, I'll tell them after. I'll be like, "Are you sure about that guy?" Because
Mm,
surely if
yeah.
I'm thinking it, someone else will be thinking it. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, you can tell sometimes with what you achieve. You can maybe it's just my life and what I'm going through, but I've sort of realized that when you do something, um, when you do something good in life, people come to you. Like I mean, winning Pride of Britain, people were coming to me that never spoken to me before and wanting to meet up with me and stuff. And then I wouldn't hear from them. And then I remember actually passing my driving test. I mean, 2 years ago, and I had people messaging me like, "Come on, let's go out," and "Come on, we need to go out," and stuff like that. And it kind of, I think you kind of realize from then, you know,
Yeah.
these people ain't the right people because they weren't there before, and now you can't say now I'm a driver. Someone wants to come out with you, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of do get that. Um, but yeah, you do a lot of charity work as well, you and your brother, which is amazing. Just talk to us about what kind of stuff you do for charity as well, because as you know, I've done a lot myself for charity, and I think yeah, during lockdown it must have been quite tough because with Acorns, I mean, I've done a lot for Acorns, and in lockdown it was quite tough to carry on doing what we were doing. So how has it been with you, and what do you do for which
Uh,
charity?
yeah, similar. So there's a couple of charities which we've been involved with for a while. So there's the Help Harry Help Others charity out of Moseley, for Harry Moseley in Birmingham for his mum. Georgie set up the charity in his name after he passed away.
Yeah.
And that just goes from strength to strength every time. It's such an amazing chat, and it's a local charity as well. A lot like you with Acorns, it's cool.
Yeah.
The Well Child charity, which is all about for nurses. And then also, so a couple of weeks ago, I did a 30-mile paddle board for the Movember charity.
Yeah, I saw on your Instagram actually. Yeah.
Which was good fun. Apparently, so the thing, it was like to raise a little bit of money for it, but it's more about getting men to talk about mental health and how no matter what it's, whether it's to do with obviously if it's to do with cancer or anything like that, going through the Movember thing, but just in general, because especially in young males, it's a high suicide rate.
Yeah.
And it's just about getting guys to talk, because guys don't talk about stuff. And equally, guys aren't really good at asking their pal, "Oh, how you doing?" and actually meaning like, "No, how are you doing?" So
Yeah.
we did this. There was about 20 of us who paddled down the Basingstoke Canal, which is say 30 miles. And at one point, we went past this army barracks, and I was at the back, and I was learning to do a different type of row. So instead of going from each side, it was just sticking to one side, and you move the oar differently. So I was at the back, kind of lagging behind with this girl showing me what to do. And this guy was walking down the side with the backpack on, army dude, and he was saying, "Oh, come on, hurry up, you're going to get left behind." And I was saying, "No, I'm just trying to learn this. I don't mind being slow." And he was like, "What are you all doing here anyway? Like, why are you out here?" And got talking to him about it. And this guy, he was literally, you could see what we were telling what we were doing, hit him for six, because he then came out and started telling us, like he's walking with us while we're paddling. And he was saying, "Yeah, I'm coming out of the army in 6 weeks. I've been in it for 22 years.
Wow.
And he's like, they're trying to get me used to Civvy Street, but I don't really know. You've got to learn how to do that." And then like you could see it really hit home. And then he ended up then going further afterwards. He came and chatted to a couple of other people about it. So just that really made all the difference. And it was cool that what we were, obviously, if you put it online or something, you're like, yeah, maybe someone will see it, but to actually see someone hopefully take heed of that was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Just shows like life. Everything happens for a reason. Him walking there at that time of you doing that. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
How it all happened and how it all came together. That's amazing. That is. But yeah, like doing stuff for charity, it's always a great thing. And I mean, if the listeners are, or the viewers, or whatever the people are doing with this podcast, if they do want to help out the charities as well that you're working with, yeah, where can they find them charities? Actually,
yeah. So all the ones that we do. So I say there's the Help Harry Help Others. Sorry, my dog's going wild in the background. The Help Harry Help Others charity, the Well Child charity, Movember, which I think, like everyone knows, in November everyone seems to grow a mustache. But yeah, they do work all year round. But actually, for that paddleboard, I ended up growing a mustache for it. Well, I had a beard, and then I just shaved it off and grew a mustache, and that lasted about 2 hours after I came home, and my wife was like, "That's got to go. That's not hanging around."
Yeah, because I mean, you've done some, like you said, you keep yourself going. You have done some random things, haven't you? Because obviously you did the Harry Potter film, then you've done the podcast. You do things for charity, and then you travel around the world. But you've also released the chocolate. You released chocolates, haven't you? For where they're sold in Sainsbury's, right?
Yeah, they are now. Yeah, thank you for mentioning
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Right.
so is it Oliver and I are literally like a very small clogs in the big chain of things, but yeah, it's called Wizard's Chocolate, and there's quite a wide range. But the main premise was that it's guilt-free chocolate,
Mm-hmm.
so it's not packed with sugar. It's different types of stuff, and some of the are like vegan friendly, dairy friendly, so anyone can eat them. So I hope you enjoyed them. The ones that
Yeah,
I
there were so many different ones. It was like, God, like which one? Where do I start? Which one do I start with? Um, but yeah, they're if anyone does want to check them out, I mean, Sainsbury's is the place to go and try them out. I liked quite a few of them. There was I think it was a caramel. I think it was, yeah, one had
Mhm.
caramel in it, and I think that one was my favorite. Because there were so many different ones, I can't even remember the names of half of them. Honestly, like I kind of just, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I kind of just opened the packets and just ate them. I didn't even look at half of the names.
look at what it was. I
Yeah,
think
yeah. So I kind of just yeah.
the one that really surprised me, and I thought when the guy sent me it, I thought this is going to be vile. Is there's a mushroom flavored or like a mushroom one called
Yeah,
Lion's Mane, but it is my favorite one because it doesn't actually taste like mushrooms. I don't know what it tastes of, but it's I
yeah,
devoured those quite quickly when I got my last shipment.
yeah. I mean, yeah, but thanks very much for coming on to this podcast today. Like to have someone as inspirational and as big as you to come on and tell me your life and tell me about your life and what you've been doing is yeah, just thanks so much, man. It means a lot. Um,
Oh, thank you very much.
I've got no
Do you mind
worries.
if I
Sorry,
do you mind if I ask you? Can I flip it around on you? What are your
go
plans for the next 5 years?
like I'm kind of hoping this podcast, like I'm kind of because like my goal has always I've always wanted to have like a kind of TV show or podcast or anything, a radio show, anything along those lines. And I mean, I'm kind of hoping this podcast is the beginning to all of that. But at the minute, it's not going the way I kind of visioned it to go. So I mean, I'm hoping, I'm hoping after 6 months, the way yours just blew up, I'm hoping that happens to me somehow. And yeah, if more people can listen to this and eventually it gets big to the point where I get invited to have a radio show or something, then that'll be awesome. But I'm just kind of taking it step by step. I mean, mental health is a massive thing with me because I mean, being in lockdown, I kind of struggled quite a bit, and I mean, I think like suicide and stuff like that, it kind of came to my head a lot, and it still does. So I
Mhm.
kind of have to work on myself a bit, and when I'm doing this podcast and I'm planning for the episode and stuff, it gets my mind off
Yep.
off all that stuff. So yeah, I'm just gonna kind of keep going and fight mental health, do this podcast, and yeah, just keep your fingers crossed for me that
I
eventually
could,
in
yeah.
5 years' time I'll have a radio show or something.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like I say when I was just that's why I was hoping you were going to say something like that because I remember obviously Pride of Birmingham first time we saw you on stage and then speak to you afterwards, and then I loved it when I saw you at the Pride of Britain. I was looking at everybody else in the room because I
Mm.
knew what the reaction was going to be because your personality is so
Because you saw me in Pride of Birmingham before that, so yeah.
yeah, and so I knew what was coming. In fact, I knew that the wave of Mo was on its way, and everybody else was like, I don't know, it just captured the atmosphere and captured the mood of everybody, and I thought that was just it's so great to see, especially because you're a Brummie, which is
Yeah.
great to
I mean,
great to.
I kind of don't want that to just, I kind of don't want to be like a one-hit wonder as well. Like, I
No,
mean, you know what I mean? So like Pride of Britain was the one thing that I blew up with Pride of Britain, and that was pretty much it. And then life calmed down a bit, but I want to keep the momentum going and keep myself kind of out there doing stuff and use Pride of Britain and the talk I did at Pride of Britain to do things say like this. It's blessed me with this. I've managed to get you on as a guest, and that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for winning that award. And you know what I mean. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
kind of similar. So that's kind of similar to how I would put myself in with Potter, to be honest. Is
yeah,
that I'm very grateful for it, and
yeah,
I'm more than happy to talk about it. But I also want to look at the next thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
get that. Yeah. So yeah, same with me, 100%. But before we do finish this episode, I'm gonna ask you my final question, which I ask all the guests. And that would be, what would your message of inspiration be to someone who's feeling very low at the moment?
uh, uh oh
I will put you on the spot.
you put me on the spot because I'm trying to think what's. You see, I'm very open in the fact that I'm very fortunate that I haven't really suffered badly with mental health.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't even pretend to know that kind of,
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah,
But I would say, I mean, the standard thing is to say, keep going, it's all good. But
yeah,
but I would honestly say, believe in yourself, because everybody else, you may not think people do, but everybody does. Like so a director once told me when I was, and stop me if you've heard me say this before, but a director told me once when I was doing my first ever stage show, I was very nervous, and I didn't know, I was just getting stage fright essentially. And he said to me, well, everybody that's watching you do something wants you to be the best they've ever seen, because everybody wants to witness something good and something awesome. So just go and do that. Everybody's on your side anyway. So I guess that's the best thing I could say is, if you're feeling low, just remember everyone's on your side. And if you ever need help, ask for it. There's no shame in asking for help.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that's the perfect message, honestly, that you could give, because it kind of hit me, that one did as well, because I mean, asking for help is something I struggle to do. I hate asking. I like to do things myself.
Yep.
I kind of just I don't want to show anyone that I need help. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'll take that message of inspiration for myself as well, and I'll use that.
Well, thank you very much for having me on, mate. And nothing I would say, go stargazing, because it may sound really nerdy, but honestly, that really did chill me out when I was. I
mean, you have to get a telescope, right?
It helps, but you don't have to.
I mean, with that telescope, I mean, because at one point in my life, a few years ago, I was really interested in space and all that, and I wanted to go to the moon and all that.
Yep.
And I thought, yeah, I'm going to buy a telescope. I saw the price of them, and I thought, forget that. Then I kind of just.
No, but you can get like third-hand ones. They're still in good nick, and they're not as much as you think. But even if you just want to look at the moon, you could do that with a camera or good binoculars.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Yeah.
And what's I am a space geek. Like, I've got to get this clear right now. But if you eventually, when your eyes adapt to, so you don't look at that's another thing as well. You can't look at your phone while you're doing it. So that takes all that away. So you're literally, it's just you and whoever's looking down on us. And you can, once your eyes adapt, you see satellites going over. You can see shooting stars. Like, it's just a cool thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can't just do that with your eyes, though. You have to get. I think I'd have to get something for that then, like a telescope or binoculars or something.
Yeah, but even if you were just to lie out in your garden and just wait there, eventually your eyes adjust to seeing. It's weird. It's like someone turns all the other stars on. Like, they just adapt.
Just appear. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'll have to give it a try then, definitely. Before we do end it, where can obviously every one of my listeners will know who you are, but I've got to ask, where can they find you, and your brand of chocolates and everything that you've got going on? Where can they find it? Where
can they find? They can find the Wizard's chocolate in, like, say, Sainsbury's, or I think they're in any BP garage, random, and online. And then there is I'm on Twitter, Instagram. I'm not on Facebook, and I'm not on TikTok. I've never been on TikTok, so I'm really intrigued by it, but I've never seen it. And then our podcast is called Normal Not Normal, and that's on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, including this one.
Cool, awesome. Thanks very much for coming on. This has been the Live to Inspire podcast with Mo Eunice. Thanks very much for listening, and goodbye. Thanks for joining us on the Live to Inspire podcast with me, your host, Mo Eunice. Please comment, like and share to help build our global community.